I think the phrase is the hardest working man in show business.
He was the hardest working man. We had all 32 sectionals, of course, across the state with 4 officials at each one. So that means there was 128 officials out there working out of 145 or 150. So we're going to pick Josh's brain throughout the show tonight on a little bit about how things work from the officiating side as far as assignments and who goes where and how it gets determined and all those types of things. So Josh is actually done, I believe, for the rest of the state tournament. He just gets to sit in his chair, wear his tie, and look pretty, and eat that good catered hospitality food.
So the last time all season, someone's going to yell, "You suck!"
That's
at
right.
You. There you go. Last time all season.
I can yell at him if he really needs to hear it one more time. So
those middle school fans can be pretty brutal sometimes.
They can. So, hey, we want to give shout-outs to all of the winning teams in our area for winning sectional. Belmont won a sectional. Delta won a sectional. Oak Hill won. New Haven, Garrett, Northwood, and who won? East Noble? Did they win theirs?
That's a good question.
I'm missing out on one. I gotta scroll down here to make sure. Who won the Peru sectional? That's the question.
North Miami.
North Miami won. I saw that they hadn't won one in decades, potentially.
Is that what? Okay.
It had been a long time. So kudos to them for winning. And we'll pull it up right now. The West Noble sectional was won by the Fighting Reasons of East Noble. 44 points over Prairie Heights. So congratulations to all the area teams as they advance. And the cool thing about the Indiana State Wrestling Tournament is just because you didn't win sectional doesn't mean that you can't pop back in and win yourself a regional.
I don't know if winning the Jay County sectional is a big hoopla or not, because this next weekend when Delta comes to town, it's just going to be a dogfight. Delta's coming in so strong that, I mean, they have to be the favored team in that sectional, but there's going to be enough really high-level caliber guys that are going to kind of just mess things up, and it could be pretty close. I don't know.
It comes down to if you can pick up 2 more fourth placers than the team that you're trying to chase, it can make all the difference. I know I was talking to the judge earlier today when he was still on the ground in Florida. He said, I went back through and I looked at how they scored it. I'm still not sure how Belmont won. He said, Adams Central, they advanced everybody through, but, Belmont just had enough to score the victory. They had the pinpoints and all those things. It is really, really close. The more you spread it out over the course of, I don't know how many matches were there, 50. Belmont probably wrestled 50 to 60 bouts, and it came down to 5.5 points. And there for a moment we thought it was going to come down to 1.5 points when Worm was potentially going to beat Cruz. It was wild, and that's what it's all about. It sure is a heck of a lot more fun when there's a team race involved. I still think that tournament hosts and the IHSAA could do a better job of communicating what the team score is by having a running leaderboard of the team scores visible somewhere, or announcing it. I think we fall into the trap sometimes as wrestling people that we try to get through every single tournament as humanly fast as possible for a lot of reasons, and that happens in dual meets and in tournaments too, but I really think that it could have added to the atmosphere on Saturday if after every weight they would have updated the team score and said, this is what's left. This is the score right now, and adjusted it. I mean, I'm not talking about Barry Humble on one of those overhead
with a grease pen.
You got a chalkboard out.
Yeah.
But there's something there I think that could be said about keeping that up to date. Of course, when we get to semi-state and the state, they do a little bit better job of it. But I do think that they could help add to the atmosphere if they were able to. It is a weird thing. There aren't a whole lot of high school events that you go to, team events at least, where you don't know what the score is. You're not necessarily sure who's winning. And the only people who do know who are winning are the people who have their phones out and are trying to figure it out. And that, as good as track wrestling is, it's not always up to date. You can be hitting refresh, and you think, okay, I just saw this guy pin. I look at the dashboard, and it says this guy pinned. Now I click on team scores, and I expect that team score includes that win, and it doesn't. You have to wait another 90 seconds until it updates it, and it is hard to follow.
You know how many times I hit refresh?
I know.
You get a refresh and just refresh. Now, the Eric Myers clan that sits right in that corner right there by us, and then the Adams Central faithful right there, Many of those people know that I have track wrestling up on his computer, and they will come down and walk
trying to
by,
peek
and they're
over,
looking.
were they?
They're checking for some things. Now, Josh, I got to ask you. You were in a finals match for the heavyweights, weren't you?
I was not. I was in the 5th and 6th place match.
Oh,
Okay.
you were the
Okay.
odd man out. No one,
That's just how the rotation
no
worked
one
out. I
cared
was-
about 5th place.
Yeah.
And I was walking out, and somebody said, "I have not seen that much action on two separate mats in 30 seconds in my life." It was just incredible. I mean,
I know it got real loud. I couldn't even hear my own whistle on the 5th and 6th place match, so I know it got real loud in there. I didn't realize the team score was what it was until I got home that night. So, I mean, it explained a lot why it got so loud.
well, Juan Cruz was dominating Worm. They just it was like 3-0. The match was just nothing to it. And with 45 seconds left, Worm hits a arm roll, rolls him to his back, has Cruz on his back, and at the same time, Grady Baker gets an escape and her takedown on Long, and they're spinning around, and then we're looking at one, we're looking at the other one, and then Worm gets turned to his back, and Cruz starts pinning him, and then Grady Baker turns him to his back, starts pinning, and there's two matches going on, and it's like you're watching them all, and all of a sudden, boom, boom, there's falls on both and the place just erupted, and it's like, wow. And somebody told me, said that was the most exciting 30 seconds of wrestling on two different mats they'd ever seen.
That's good.
Going back to last week in the ACAC, we were riding the AC coaches pretty hard at the way that they coached Worm in that finals against Cruz. I think we probably owe him an apology because I think there was no way that Worm was even going to attempt that role with Cruz in that ACAC match because they were holding out for it in the sectional match.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
It was right there, and he gave himself a chance. Even though he didn't win it, it sure made for an exciting.
So we can make a decision up in the press box and have a real good idea of what's going on. But that's not mean that you want to have Juan Cruz beating on your head and pounding powerhouse on you. That's not someplace you want to be. We stand down there and you stand next to that kid. That kid's chest is as wide as thick as it is wide. He's just like a 55-gallon drum with shoes on.
Yep.
Now, later on in the show, we're going to talk about some of these brackets. Heavyweight's going to be one that's going to dominate a lot of our time because now I start looking at Peyton Long against the young man Moss from Delta in the first round of regional. Only one of them is going to go, and Grady Baker, what a huge win for that. I mean, I'm not saying that he's an automatic victory over the second-place finisher from Delta, but Moss was the class of that field, and for him to beat Long, something that, I don't know, you and I probably wouldn't have predicted, but that snap down by Baker, it was so successful, and Long just kind of ran out of steam at the end, and Grady wanted it more.
And I asked John Rubel, sitting at the lunch table, I said, who's working with Grady? And he said, that's Carter Freet. Carter Freet's working with him. So we walked out of the gym, and the guys were walking the thing, and I said, does Carter Freet get an assist on that championship? And he says, most undoubtedly, for sure.
Very, very cool. So any other thoughts from Saturday, Rex? I was at Marion today for the Indiana Tech Marion match. Tyrone and I were. I was on the radio. Tyrone was on the mat. Saw some good wrestling. Those two teams are going to be wrestling next weekend at the U of I Greyhound Open, and then in 2 weeks it's going to be back at Marion. That semi-state weekend is when they have their conference tournament. Talked to Landon Birch today. He wasn't in the lineup for them, but we saw some pretty good matches. Jonathan Curvin and Elliot Rogers was an outstanding match there in the middleweights.
I think
Tech's pretty good up there at the top.
My only take is Josh and I talked off air that it just brings to light that the level officials that we need out there working has to come up. I mean, we've got the Kyle Lawsons that are starting to come up that are pretty good young officials. We need more good young officials. And the guys were there. Like Josh said, the one guy is his first sectional. Yeah, you want to ride him a little bit, but those guys have to get work in. They have to get used to coaches riding him a little bit. And I think the coaches were pretty good. I mean, they didn't drive him into the ground and really hurt him that much, but those guys got to get experience.
Well, and they're going to get better with those experiences, and I think that's probably the key more than anything is officials like Josh and people from the IHSAA going back and saying, hey, look at this, listen to the feedback that you have, and when you're new at something like that, you've got to listen to the coaches because these coaches they know their stuff and they know their rules and they know what has been called the entire year long and they expect it to be called the same way. And, we had, 155 officials that were registered this year, so there's not a whole lot to choose from. But I think the key is learning from it, growing, giving those guys more experiences and more opportunities to grow, and sort of providing meaningful feedback when it comes to it.
Well, and that young man it was his first sectional, the one you were referencing, I think if he continues to progress the way that I saw in that day, I think he will be a solid official. He was willing to listen. He was willing to adjust things on the fly. I think he'll be good. He loves the sport. He's been around it for a while. He watches a lot of wrestling, so I think he will be a solid official.
And I know Josh is doing the right thing. I mean, Mr. Ballman is following him around, and then after both matches that we saw, Mr. Ballman there, both athletic directors said, hey, give me your information, I want to call you, because those guys know they're looking for good young officials to work those JV matches and stuff.
Yep.
So we finished our weigh-ins period. We're going to take us a break, and we'll be back with more wrestling talk here in the first period A, right on WZBD.
When faced with the difficult task of making arrangements for your loved one, many emotions and questions arise. What would they want me to do if they were here? Where is the money coming from? How much should I spend? Do they want burial or cremation? The staff at Haggard, Hershey, and Zelt Funeral Home can help you navigate these tough questions. Make your wishes known and allow us to make sure that your wishes are carried out. Call Ryan Hershey or Eric Zelt at 260-724-7167 to schedule an appointment today.
When you're doing new construction or remodeling and you need drywall, the name to call is Paul Baker Drywall. Paul Baker Drywall does championship caliber work and gives you free estimates. Paul uses all the latest styles for your approval, and his work is always guaranteed. Give Paul a call today at 701-4388. That's 701-4388. When it's time for drywall, use the best, Paul Baker Drywall.
Glazer and Ebbs Law Firm, located in downtown Fort Wayne, has been recognized by U.S. News and World Report as Best Lawyer, Best Law Firms, and rated as Best Law Firms for the years 2023 and 2024. This is the second year in a row that U.S. News and World Report and Best Law Firms has recognized Glazer and Ebbs. Glazer and Ebbs is located in downtown Fort Wayne, directly across from the courthouse, with free parking behind the building. With Glazer and Ebbs, there is a free consultation, home and hospital visit, car settled for free, and no fee if no recovery. Glazer and Ebbs, 260-424-0954. That's 260-424-0954. Glazer and Ebbs, best lawyers, best law firms, 2 years in a row.
No fee if no recovery. No fee if
And welcome
no
to the show,
recovery.
Alexis.
Glazer and
Hey,
Ebbs,
thank you
with
so much
offices
for
in
having
downtown
me.
Decatur. Call
Well, we want to offer you this
728-9997.
opportunity here as we are just 2 weeks away from the Evansville semi-state and 3 weeks away from the state finals in Evansville, to give our listeners and potential Evansville visitors an update on all the details that you guys currently have lined up and some of the things that you're still working on here in the final weeks.
Absolutely. I know you say 2 weeks and my stomach jumps into my throat. We're so excited. I mean, we know that this is just a one-time opportunity to have people come into our community and experience everything that's been going on in Evansville for the last several years. So we are planning for a huge weekend. We've got a big fan festival planned on that Saturday on Main Street. We've shut some streets down around the arena, and we've brought in, zip lines and climbing walls and food trucks. And we're really, wanting to make it a real festival experience for the people that are coming down here. I think they're going to just really enjoy it.
Now, Alexis, this is Rex. Now, when we first made the decision to go to Evansville, the people up around Fort Wayne, we whined and complained and threw a fit. But from what we've heard, I've spoke with Robert Falcons numerous times about it, and he said that the folks at Evansville have went all out and they're going to make this thing the best event that they can do. And like I said, it's a one-time shot, so you guys just going to swing for the seats and see what you can get. But we're looking forward to it because there's nothing better than a good road trip during wrestling season.
Hey, absolutely. And we will send you a Spotify list, man. We've got a whole Kentuckiana thing going on that we can, really engage you on your way down. My mom's side of the family is actually from Angola, Indiana, which is not too far from Fort Wayne. So I do understand that drive, but I'm going to tell you, we are doing everything we can to make it worth your while. And I think we're going to show you an experience that will make you want to come back for sure, and make other people from around the state want to come back. That's obviously, what we are so excited about is the trickle down effect from this tournament. And IHSAA and Robert Falcons, they've been just wonderful to us, and we certainly want to repay the favor and show all of the fans just a terrific time.
Alexis Dane here. We're going to talk a little bit more about tickets later on in the show, but I was looking through some of the information that Aaron King sent me. And why don't you expand a little bit about the complimentary shuttles to Franklin Street and Haney's Corner, and some of that for some of our fans who are considering making the trip, and some are considering still staying home. So what's going to push them across that line?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, in addition to what we've got planned, like right downtown outside of the arena, we have got a shuttle scheduled, and that's going to take any fans, any guests to other part of our city. We've got a couple other cultural districts, one called, Franklin Street, like you mentioned, in Haney's Corner. And these are other sort of hotbeds of restaurants and bars and retail. So just, it's going to be a fun and easy and free way to experience other parts of our city while you're, at the arena in between sessions. It's going to be super. And, we certainly encourage people to go and explore as much as they can, as much as they have time for, obviously.
Well, Alexis, we thank you for coming on the show tonight, and we hope that maybe you can join us here once or twice more before we get to Evansville, and then hopefully we get the chance to meet you during our live show on Friday as we get ready for the opening session, the show that we do. It sounds like we're going to be directly connected to the Ford Center. Aaron's got us all set up, so we really appreciate your time tonight.
Oh, hey, thanks again for having me, and I would be just absolutely pleased to visit with you again before the big day, a big weekend, I should say.
Okay, thanks. Get back to your 49ers.
I know, right? I told you I went to high school with Kyle Shanahan, so I got to admit, though, I'm not rooting for the 49ers.
All right, take care.
Don't tell him I said that. Thank you.
Okay, so, Rex, you already have it figured out. Your Valentine's Day gift can be tickets to the state finals.
I don't think so.
You don't think she's going to go?
No, I think she's got a her and my daughter have a massage lined up for that day.
So we just got new ad text in, so we're going to read it live here for you tonight. The IHSAA State Wrestling Finals are coming to the Ford Center in Evansville, February 16th and 17th. Come experience and share in the excitement as the state's best wrestlers go toe-to-toe for the crown of state champion. Tickets go on sale through Ticketmaster. Listen closely. February 14th at 10 a.m. Central Time. One other thing we got to get used to is we're going to be on Central Time when we get down there, and we're going to have to adjust. So tickets go on sale through Ticketmaster February 14th at 10 a.m. Central Time. Those who are associated with a wrestler who qualifies, of course, will have the chance to turn in their vouchers and all of that and get their tickets ahead of time. But Valentine's Day, 10 a.m., that's when tickets go on sale through Ticketmaster. I have noticed, a couple of different people have pointed out, there are some bad links going around out there that are trying to dupe people in to spending money. Do not use them. You cannot buy them now. It's impossible. There are no codes. There are no cheat codes to buy tickets. Do not try to spend your money now because it will not be any good when you show up to the doors of the Ford Center.
Now, one of our guests, our two-time guest now, he's been here, stuck into my corner and asked me, hey, can you send to the commissioner a thing? Why don't you just tell the IHSAA, all of these schools that have fans that typically come in big numbers, give them a block of like 200 tickets and set them aside, because not every school is going to bring them. But the modern days, the Belmonts, the Crown Points, those teams are going to bring a lot of people. Why don't you just take a block and set them aside for those schools?
It's certainly worth considering. I'm not sure if the IHSAA wants to go through the administrative effort
of
having to deal with it. But
ain't that right, Wolpert?
When it comes down to it, Eddie's got some pretty good ideas sometimes. I'm just saying.
He went with the chicken wings tonight. That's a good idea.
I'm just saying he generally does. Hey, I'm going to finish my ad here. You won't want to miss a fan festival on Main Street downtown on Saturday. That's going to be hosted by our friends at Explore Evansville. There's going to be live entertainment, games, food trucks, complimentary shuttles to Franklin Street and Haney's Corner, and much more, along with the zip lines and the other activities that she mentioned. Stay up to date on everything Evansville has to offer during your stay by visiting exploreevansville.com. Evansville, Indiana, where champions are crowned.
See, now, since we do have an official in the room tonight, I'm going to have my official story about Evansville. Because Evansville is a long ways away, it's tough to get officials to go down there and work that. They typically take guys out of Indianapolis down there. I got a good friend of mine I worked for years with, Orlando Fontanez, and Orlando worked out of Greenfield area, and he said that they asked him, would you come down? He said, yeah. So the city of Evansville took it over, and they put the officials up in the casino hotel for the weekend. They paid for that as part of a deal with the IHSAA. So he said he's down there Friday night before the tournament starts on Saturday, and he cruises in, plays a little Caribbean stud, and hits a huge jackpot. So he told him, I'll go back to Evansville every year after this. So I won't tell you how much money he won, but it was a year's salary for some people. So
well, we certainly appreciate Alexis coming on the show tonight and sharing some more details. I do think that if you give that weekend a chance, you're going to have an awful lot of fun. And if you do choose to stay home, tune in to us because we'll have all of the coverage on 92.7 FM throughout both days of the tournament. Don't forget, the opening session on Friday morning is going to start with the middleweights and go up to heavyweight, and then the 6-pounders are going to be the start of the second session on that Friday.
So that ends up our first period A. Let's send it back to the studio for some commercials. We're back with first period B right after this. You listen to High School Wrestling Weekly on WZBD.
Are you ready for spring? Come see what we have growing in the greenhouses. Hi, it's Jessie at Heller Nursery, and we are open all winter long. Heller Nursery always has a wide selection of houseplants in stock and pottery for inside and outside the house. We are preparing for spring every day now, and with new shipments of decor, pottery, plants, and seeds, there's always something new to see. Check out hellernursery.com to see our wide selection of spring offerings of trees, shrubs, fruits, and perennials. Heller Nursery, open 7 days a week.
Cross Creek Golf Club in Decatur has the perfect Christmas gift for the entire family. This year, give the gift of golf. Reduced rates for next season are now available. Student memberships, singles, couples, family, and seniors are all options on the 27-hole beautiful Cross Creek Golf Course. Gift certificates from Cross Creek make great stocking stuffers. New merchandise, including sweaters and outerwear, are also great gift ideas. Stop in soon for the best selection. Cross Creek Golf Club in Decatur.
Hi, this is Joel at Decatur Package Liquors, locally owned since 1965. I promise competitive prices and the best service in town. We offer bulk buy discounts for weddings, graduation parties, and other big celebrations. Special orders are also available and highly recommended. Don't forget about Wine Wednesday, where you get the best savings. Come on, guys, it's where your friends shop.
Decatur Package Liquors, with the best service and variety in town, now with locations in Monroe, Byrne, and Markle.
Welcome back once again to the Hager Hershey Zelda High School Wrestling Weekly, hosted by the Double Eagle Clubhouse Grill. Nice little crowd in here as we got a couple of guys that came out 2 weeks in a row. I think they're going to make this a Sunday night thing just to, I don't know if they just want to get away for a while and relax, but it's a great place to come hang out. The Brights are here. The judge just sent you a text of him with his headphones listening to us.
It just landed.
It just landed.
Come
on, Kenny.
Rest in peace.
Just landed, Kenny.
Hey, let's go take a look at these Jay County regional brackets and talk a little bit about what we saw on Saturday. There's, of course, a good match in every single one of these weights, and in a couple of them there's two. The one that I think everybody will be talking about, 106 pounds, is Miles Carr and Dagan Barbosa. Carr knocked off by Titus Loesch in the semifinals on Saturday. Barbosa sort of slotting in behind Boyd and hoping to ride his wave all the way to the state finals. We're going to talk to Coach LeCount later on in the show, but that should be a really, really good one. I also think that Titus Loesch and Jackson Webb will be a good one there at 106 pounds. At 113, Ethan Curtis did well to finish in third place. He'll have Zach Reno from Westell, a junior who's 13-6. I know Coach Bradley has already texted me twice. He says, hey, how good's that Cale Beer kid? I said, oh, he must have drawn a Muncie Central kid. Looking at 120 pounds, Jackson Bingham will wrestle Cade Jackson, who was the champion over there. Henry Farrote, he'll have an interesting match. He's got a senior. Senior versus freshman in the first round of regional is always a unique dynamic. We've seen it go both ways sometimes, I think. The freshman has nothing to lose. The senior has everything to lose, their whole career on the line. But a lot of times we'll see a senior with maybe a lesser record go up against a younger kid and just come away with an incredible victory because they know that their season's on the line. Farote will be wrestling Quentin Keene from Winchester. He's 18-4. Another great one should be Bowen Keith and Dakota Sprunger. In there, Hunter Douglas and Jaden Klein also at 120. 126 pounds, Dylan Ogg will wrestle Neil Mosier. Braden Daniels looked awfully good on Saturday.
Yeah,
wow.
he comes in, and you never know about those Union City kids, and he held up his end of the deal and just really wrestled well in the finals against Cody Riles, and shows us why he's just got one loss in the season.
132 going to be very competitive, although I think there's 4 pretty favorited wrestlers at 132. You're going to have Sam Mosier and Jackson Bradley, it sure looks like. Brayson Shorgen is going to be in there at 132 for Adam Central, I think. And then down there at the bottom, Cole Stuffle looks awfully good for Yorktown. He's a senior, although Heskett didn't look bad on Saturday.
Tough draw for Jean-Paul.
Yeah, it is, and you gotta place higher than 4th if you want to get up there. But either way, I think Mosier and Bradley were going to be tough draws for him. He really needed to make the finals, I think, if he was going to have a favorable draw. But once again, you've got a senior who's going to have his season on the line, and we know that JP can come back from a losing position. We know that JP can come from the down position and all of a sudden have a guy locked in a cradle, and we've seen him stick some pretty good kids in that.
Let's go to that. I don't know if Josh had that match. I think one of the lesser experienced officials had it. JP had a cradle locked up and had that guy buried, and then comes out, doesn't get to fall, and end up getting beat. So, I mean, that's one of the swings. JP had that match won.
And how about the finals at 132, right?
Yeah.
Brayson was up 9, 10, 11 points, and then it looked like he was stacked and buried. So I think that would be a great rematch if we have a chance to see those guys again this coming week at Regional. Of course, at 138, Tony Wood still undefeated. Justin Boone looking awfully good from Yorktown, but of course Mavs right up there and sort of, once again, we talk about it all the time. Sometimes you get behind some of those really, really good guys in your sectional and you just keep riding them. You just keep finishing second behind them and stay out of their way because you know that Maverick's not going to have to wrestle Tony Wood in the ticket round. And you can kind of take solace in the fact that I'm going to give him my best shot in the finals every week, but I know I'm not going to be in the same quarter bracket the following week. So,
some of those matches, you see them each week getting a little bit closer, and sometimes those guys might pull off an upset.
At 144, I think we've got 4 pretty clear favorites to make it. It should be a really competitive weight class between Bullenbacher and Wolpert, Hoppies from Yorktown and Ronimus from Delta at 150 pounds. Luganbill looked great on Saturday. I was really proud of him for the way he wrestled and all of those Belmont seniors.
How do you know you weren't there?
Yeah, well, I watched it.
Oh, okay.
Jaden Jett from Cowan is on the other side. He should be up there. Max Byerly looked good on Saturday, and Jacob Robinson went from 144 to 150 for Jay County and made it out. He's got a kid from Monroe Central who's 20-4. Maybe we'll ask Coach LeCount.
Don't know if you saw, but there was a unsportsmanlike conduct penalty point that was taken that could have came real and handy.
I asked Coach Myers about that one. He said, well, I think they had a coming together previously in the season, and this one was a little bit of a well, we saw that, it happens sometimes, right? We saw it between Heiser and Somerset. One guy wins a match and the other guy takes a little bit of umbrage to how it was celebrated, and it provides the fuel for the fire for the next time that they meet, and it adds to the atmosphere of the tournament, and I think that's what ended up happening. I am very thankful that it did not come down to a half-point or a one-point victory. I agree with you. That would not have been appropriate for as good as the wrestling was on Saturday, for there to be a scapegoat on the end of the unsportsmanlike.
Like coaches will tell you each week, these are 15, 16, 17-year-old kids, and he said sometimes they do things that they shouldn't do, and he said they learn from it. But sometimes it's really costly. We saw one of the boys from Columbus City one year cost them a placing at the state.
Yeah, very very much so. That was an unfortunate one at Team State. At 157,
Mr. Deitch found it.
At 157, a lot of people talking about the forfeits and everything, but I think you're going to see 4 really good wrestlers advance at the Jay County Regional, and I think the Jay County Sectional guys are going to be right up there with them. Gavin's still undefeated. Isaiah looks pretty good in his matchup. We've seen Reason Davenport. I called his match for Daleville last year when they wrestled South Adams. Jarrett Smith's gotten a lot better this year, and I think a lot of people would agree with that. Brody Lewis has looked really, really good for Bluffton at that weight too, but I know there's some pretty strong individuals there from...
Yeah, that mess between Lewis and Smith for the consoles, they were going at it. I mean, that was a really close match.
At 165, Matt Heiser's had a really good year. He draws Levi Abbott in the round to go in the blood round on Saturday morning. That's going to be a really good match. The winner would get Duke Myers. As good as the season as Wesley Somerset's had, Cape Stebbins has been awesome this year. He's still undefeated, don't forget. And Cody Cox is dangerous down there on the very bottom of the bracket. He's a guy that could come through and pull out a win against, he's got number 1, 2, and 3, right, in the semi-state. And then if Cox comes through, he's got a chance to knock one of those guys off if he can find a 4-point move or a 5-point move and come through.
I don't know how much you could see that match, but Cody Cox got a bad cut on the bridge of his nose and he's bleeding. Now that throws both wrestlers off, but it threw Duke Myers' rhythm off and also threw Cox's rhythm off because they kept having to stop, and they probably used 3.5, 4 minutes of blood time just trying to get that cut stopped, and it just really disrupts the whole match, and that's why the score was as low as it was.
And then you look at how good of a day Xavier Palacios had at 175 pounds. Man, he sets himself up so well. He's got a kid with a losing record from Yorktown in the first round. He's got a chance to beat Baining, or if he loses to the kid from Cowan who's 14-12, and that would put Xavier in the championship match, and then another chance to wrestle Russell. He's been so good on top. It looks so good with the cradle, but he's also looked really good on his feet. And I just think, last year Xavier came into the sectional. He had won the conference title, and then he doesn't make it out. He finishes 5th, and I think he was really disappointed. But I think everybody that's here in attendance has seen Xavier wrestle at least 20 times this year. He's so strong. You see, he's got so much strength from every position that he's in. I just really look forward to that moment when we're going to see where he slots in that quarter bracket at semi-state, because I really do think that he has the potential to reach the state finals in Evansville.
I was talking to Henry Kugelhahn after the match conference, and he said Xavier is just crazy strong. He said he has this just surprising strength. He said, you just grab me, you just can't move him. He is so strong, and he's not big and bulky. He doesn't look like a big, bulky bodybuilder guy, but he's just got crazy mad strength. And when he rides guys, he grinds them down. And by the time the third period's over and the guy's ridden him, he's giving up nothing.
Looking at 190 pounds, Cole didn't really have it against. Did he wrestle Wank or Curry? I'm trying to remember. He wrestled Wank in the semifinals, right?
Yep.
And Curry got Wank again the second time. But once again, I feel like Cole Mendez is that guy who survive and advance, place as high as I can, keep alive, and he's going to be another guy. He's got a kid from Westell who's 13-8, a junior. I think Cole's going to be the favorite in that match. Even if Curry and Wank reach the finals, he's going to give whoever it is in the third place match a good match, and then he's going to wait for his draw. And we've seen him wrestle guys who are state qualifiers in 1- and 2-point matches. He's going to be right there, I think. It's going to come down to how well he wrestles when the whistle blows, but really a lot of it will come down to that random draw.
This week, I think I saw that confidence level from Trevor Curry rise a bit against Wink, and Wink lost some momentum in the finals. I mean, Curry beat him. The score was pretty close, but it wasn't really close at all, was it, Matt Duval? It wasn't even close, was it?
No,
he dominated him.
Yeah. At 215 pounds, I'm not sure anybody in this field is going to touch Keegan. He is really wrestling well on his feet. He's so athletic and he's so quick. There's a reason that he's ranked number 3 in the state. I think it all comes down to, is he going to be on the same side as Jelante Hinton, or is he going to be on opposite sides? Because those are the two guys that you've been thinking about all year in Fort Wayne.
I don't know. I think he's just so much slicker of a wrestler, and that's like, because Reiser's got him ranked above Hinton in the overall state, and then the guy that's doing the Fort Wayne semi-state has him ranked below Hinton. But I think Hinton's very strong and very athletic, but Keegan is just technically sound. He doesn't wrestle like a 215-pounder, and he pulls moves on some of these 215-pounders that you're looking like 145-pounders are wrestling. That's just the way he wrestles.
Then at 285, we've already touched on it. We'll touch on it again. Juan Cruz and Zach Worm are going to be heavy favorites. They're wrestling guys that are basically coming out there with 500 records. Grady Baker's going to have a kid from Daleville who's 11-9. And the one that we're all going to be watching at the end of that first round is going to be Isaac Moss and Peyton Long. I honestly don't know who to pick there. A lot of it's going to come down to the coin flip. If somebody gets a takedown in the first period, those types of things. I thought Long looked really, really good on his feet, but then all of a sudden I think Baker just kind of wore him out. And then once Baker got him on the takedown late in that match, then he turned him pretty easily. So I was surprised by that.
Well, he got 2 takedowns right at the end, and I think he just kind of broke the will of Long a little bit and caught Long kind of off balance. And when he gets that next takedown, he just snapped him and went around, and Long had kind of relaxed a little bit, and he caught him on his back. I mean, it was out of the corner of my eye because at the same time that was happening, Cruz was putting Worm on his back, and it's like there's a lot of action going on at the same time.
My wife was actually asking me about Grady and how he did and what that weight class looks like. You look at this weight class at 285 at the Jay County Regional. Senior. It's just Grady and the kid from Wapahani who's going to wrestle Juan Cruz, he got 4th at the Delta Sectional. I mean, you look at where he slots in next year, and even if Grady ends up going to 215, you look at some of the guys who advance. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 8 guys in the 215 bracket are all seniors. And you look at what Grady Baker just did the last 2 weeks and some of the guys that he beat, the New Haven heavyweight, the Southern Wells heavyweight. I mean, he's only going to get better in a junior year, and then you wait till his senior year. It's exciting to see what he's going to be able to accomplish.
Shout out to his mom because she was pretty proud of him Saturday, and shout out to her on a great save today because she's coming back from communion and her boot slipped just right, and she just about went down, almost come right into the pew with us. And we're like, ooh, and she stops and catches herself, and
she got a great photo. Katie Myers, Coach Myers' wife, got a great photo of her from the stands of giving Grady a hug, and I know she was really, really proud. And I know earlier in the year, the thought of Grady wrestling heavyweight was kind of a scary one because of how much size he was giving up and inexperience. But I mean, if you size up Mick Grant from New Haven and Long from Southern Wells, and you say Grady's beating those kids, he's hanging right up there with them. I mean, there's not a whole lot of guys in the state who aren't taking an absolute beating from Juan Cruz, whether they're losing 2-0 or losing 12-0. But Grady's held his own.
Yeah, and I talked to coaches during the lunch break, and they said that he's told them that he's really considering going 215 next year and slimming down. I said, look at Dylan Velez. Dylan Velez lost like 65 pounds and changed his whole body. I mean, if Grady cuts some, he can make 215 fairly easy. He got a whole summer to do it.
He does. He's excited about football season, I know, in the fall. But, man, the more he's wrestled and the more I've seen from him all season long, I'm super excited about his wrestling season next year.
Well, that brings our first period at B to an end. So let's take a break and send it back to the studio. Steve Rouse on the board for us and back with the next period right after this on WZBD.
Nobody handles screen printing and apparel like Team Mantra Wear in Bluffton, providing high-quality and creative apparel for South Adams football, Belmont wrestling, and many others in our area. Team Mantra takes all the work coaches and volunteers used to do, taking orders and collecting money, and does that for them. Set up an online store and let the local experts at Team Mantra take care of the rest. From custom designs to a wide array of apparel and gear, Team Mantra is your home for all of your team apparel needs. Visit the brand new location for Team Mantra Wear on Main Street in Bluffton, or visit them online at teammantrawear.com today. At Jackson Associates Financial Services in Portland, we are committed to maintaining the highest standards of integrity and professionalism in our relationship with you, our client. We endeavor to know and understand your financial situation and provide you with only the highest quality information, services, and products to help you reach your goals. Give Troy a call for the latest rates on CDs and learn about the advantages in today's financial climate to invest in your hard-earned dollar. That's Jackson Associates in Portland.
Bowers Paint Studio on West Monroe Street in Decatur is hands down the best auto body repair shop in the Midwest. That's why your friends and neighbors give Bowers Paint Studio a 5-star rating on Facebook. Your family ride get dinged in an accident? Take it to Bowers for a free estimate. Need a custom paint job for your collectible car or motorcycle? Bowers Paint Studio is the place to go. Nate works with all the insurance companies and can help you get a loaner. That's Bowers Paint Studio on West Monroe Street in Decatur.
Welcome back once again to the Hager Hersheyville High School Wrestling Weekly, as always on Sunday night, hosted by Double Eagle here at the Cross Creek, live from the Double Eagle Clubhouse Grill. We're joined on a phone by the coach of the highly touted Delta Eagles, Cody LeCount. How you doing tonight, Coach?
I'm great. How are you guys?
We're good. Hey, before we get started, I want to tell you that the night that Belmont wrestled you in a dual meet, I know you had a really tough day, and I really want to give you our condolences and tell you that I really thank you for taking the time to interview with us that night. Okay, appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Well, Coach, we know we've talked about it a little bit. You guys win by 50 points pretty easily, but why don't you walk us through your day and how it went for you guys and some of the highlights that you had?
Yeah, definitely. Our sectional went pretty well. I mean, with some good teams like Cowan and Yorktown, and then you throw in some other teams that have got some good individuals. You always know it's going to be a good day with some tough competition. So, I mean, we went into the tournament with some pretty good seeds and some pretty good positions. And we just kind of talked about all week of, right, it's a brand new season, right? Everybody is 0-0, right, starting the tournament run, right? So you've got to be at your best. So this week in training, we always try to train our kids' mindsets and stuff like that. A lot of the physical and technical things you're not going to fix at this time of the year. You can touch up some things, but it's all about just getting the kids' mindsets right. And so I think that kind of showed this weekend a little bit of where we were and what we're trying to do. We had some good wins. Even some losses that we had were some close matches, like at 32 and at 44, and we had another good win at 65, and then some of our other main guys just took care of some business. So,
now, Coach, one thing that we've been talking about for the last couple of months actually is a focus on trying to enjoy the season and not wish it away and hope that Saturday can come tomorrow. I think for you as a coach, you have to really sort of treasure the 3 or 4 days that you have leading up to a tournament like this coming Saturday, because you do have an opportunity to work on things, and you can't waste that time by just saying, well, we just got to stay healthy and not get hurt before Saturday. You got to go hard, and you got to get better from where you wrestled this Saturday to this coming Saturday.
You're definitely right when it comes to that. This is the time of year where you can continue to fix those little details to maybe go beat those guys that you lost to, or even start to close that gap of a guy maybe you got beat by. Right? Obviously, you want to win the sectional, the regional, the semi-state, and go win the state tournament. But you can't get there to the state tournament unless you take care of those things first. So closing those gaps is what we kind of really focus on a lot in the room. So
Cody, sometimes we looked at these brackets, and there's a couple of these matches where you have underclassmen wrestling seniors, and the seniors may not have as good a records in the underclassmen, but we made the fact that this is different. It's like when you get a rat cornered, they fight a little bit harder, and some of these guys, their season, their careers on the line, and don't count out that upperclassman because he's got a lot more to lose than the younger guy does.
You're definitely right. I mean, you're senior, it's your last run. You're going to do whatever it takes to get as far in the tournament series and reach your goals as you want to.
So, Coach, we had a really interesting ending to the Jay County sectional on Saturday, and I kind of wanted to pick a coach's brain tonight, and you're the first coach that we've talked to. How much time do you spend talking about team score and what is needed? Is there a point in the end of a tournament where like you got to go to a kid and you got to say, listen, you have to pin here? How often do you have those conversations with kids, or do you just let it ride?
We have those conversations a lot, especially when we still have that kind of conversation now in the tournament series. Pins are important because obviously with bonus points, but this time of the year, pin them and get off the mat. All right, win in advance. And that's the fastest way you can get off the mat. But in general, we talk about that stuff a lot because bonus points are huge. As you can see in some of our dual meets and stuff this year, some bonus point stuff like at team state for us, right? Those bonus points were huge, getting wins that you weren't supposed to, that you need to. We talked about it even if you look at like the Mooresville Holiday Classic, right? We had a great tournament, and we tied with Terre Haute South in the finals, or for the tournament co-ed team champions, right? And if they would have scored a half point more, or we would have scored a half point more, which is just one. I think we had 3 matches that we went back and looked on, and we won 14 points. You mean just like one little extra point in a tech fall would have won us that tournament.
So Cody,
it's just one of those, yeah.
As we look at the wrestling brackets here from the sectional, there's some consolation matches that people kind of forget about. But when you look at it, some of those consolation matches, if you get beat early, you can come back and score more points in the consolation than guys who go through the championship bracket if you get a couple pins in there. And I think that's what happened in a couple of the Belmont matches that, forget about that guy wrestling down there for 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, but they pick a couple pins up in that wrestleback round, and I think that's the difference in the tournament sometimes.
You're definitely right. When it comes to those consolation matches, yeah, you might not go score 28 points like the first place guy gets, but if you come back and get 3rd and get 3 or 4 pins on the backside too, you're going to go score yourself 22 points and almost be like the champ. So those matches are huge on the backside when it talks about the team race.
And of course, this coming week, it all changes. Of course, it's such a different format because you don't get the chance to wrestle back, and you don't have those consolation and those fifth place points to score. It really is. It's all or nothing in that opening round. I did want to ask you before we lose you at the end of the segment here, how much do your kids understand about the fact that Delta hasn't won a wrestling regional since 1996? Like, do you talk to them about the history and what it's going to mean to a lot of those dads that you have that used to grow up in that era where Delta was expected to win and have waited this long?
Yeah, we talk about that kind of stuff, and a lot of these kids kind of know it as well because they've had either parents or uncles or anybody in the family that has wrestled back in those times. We have a lot of support. I mean, I have people on my staff that wrestled during those times, and people that follow us that wrestled all those times and always reach out and always are talking about how amazing it is to see how strong we are and how great we're coming back to be. So yeah, we always keep that in mind. But we always also talk about how it's just important to take care of what you're doing now, and those types of outcomes will come if you just keep taking care of business. So.
Well, Cody, we thank you for coming on the show tonight and for your support of what we do on WZBD all season long, and we look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Thanks for having me, and it'll be great to see you guys this weekend as well.
Thanks, Cody.
Yep, thank you.
Pretty hard to believe, Rex. 96 was the last time that Delta won a wrestling regional, and they haven't won a semi-state since 1991.
It seems like yesterday for me because I'm old.
But it is cool. I mean, if you look at the regional and you look at some of the things that Adams Central and Jay County have done in the last couple of years, you look at what Rochester's done in the last couple of years in our semi-state, and now the window's open again. And let's not forget, it's been a long time since Belmont won a semi-state. It's been a long time. And so I look forward to the opportunity to have those types of competitions. And I think the team race is going to be incredibly close after the first round on Saturday, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Think back a couple of years ago when Southern Wells was expected to win the 4-win semi-state with 4 guys. They had 2 get upset, but I mean, they were picked to win the semi-state. Southern Wells. And then like 2 years later, they had like 4 guys on the team.
That is true. That is true. The last semi-state title for Belmont, 2008, was the last time.
So with that, we've ended this segment. Let's send it back to studio for a round of commercials with Steve Rouse running the board. Back with more High School Wrestling Weekly right here on WZBD.
Winter might be here, but that doesn't mean that we can't think about golf. Give Cross Creek Golf Club a call at 724-4316 or visit their website, crosscreekdecatur.com, for all of your off-season golf needs. Memberships and gift cards make great presents for the golfers in your life. Book an outing for this year, but hurry as they fill up fast. March is just right around the corner. Cross Creek, a proud supporter of Belmont Athletics and Belmont Wrestling.
The staff at Haggard, Hershey, and Zelt Funeral Home is honored to serve the community we love and live in. Locally owned and operated by Ryan Hershey and Eric Zelt, we understand that each family we serve and each life lived tells a unique story. Our goal is to offer comfort, care, and dignity to all who entrust their loved ones to our care. We are proud to call Adams County our home and look forward to serving you for generations to come.
Wygand Construction in Fort Wayne is committed to providing quality, value-based construction services, and that commitment begins with our employees. We strive to anticipate and exceed clients' expectations, honor our commitments, and provide for the communities in which we live. If this sounds like the place where you'd like to work, visit our website at Wygand Construction to see our open positions and fill out an application. We want you on our team. Wygand Construction. Trust, well built.
Welcome back to the Hager-Hershey-Zelt High School Wrestling Weekly, hosted again by the Double Eagle Clubhouse Grill, Rex Brewer and Dane Fuelling, and we are now joined by the rankings guru for the state of Indiana, our good buddy from the old 219, Mike Reiser.
Yes, sir. I always tell Joe I got to get out there and try these tater tots you guys are always talking about.
Oh, they're extra good tonight, Mike. I can tell you they're extra salty and extra crisp.
Man, I think the one time I went, we were in the side building. I didn't get to eat. I was looking forward to it.
Oh, you missed out. Yeah, you definitely missed out. Hey, we'll be back together here. We're only 2 weeks away, from being down there in Evansville together.
I know, man. It's kind of flew by. I feel like the season went really quick this year.
Now, I don't know. I extended an invitation to Rex. Is he part of the team to be allowed in on the Guerrilla Radio Thursday night free-for-all down there?
I think everyone's invited. I'm excited for it. We were just kind of talking a little bit coming on. Like, we don't really put together too much of a script, so I think the more the merrier.
So, Mike, if you do get down here tonight, I went with a fried bologna sandwich where our chef here, they take a log of bologna, they smoke it, they cut you about a half-inch thick bologna steak, fry it up, and put it on a bun with some dressing and lettuce, and it was the best bologna sandwich I've had all year.
Man, my dad used to make a mean bologna sandwich when we were kids. I didn't know, growing up, I just thought everyone ate fried bologna sandwiches, and that was the best. I mean, I might drive out to the township out to Black Oak, Indiana, and get one tonight. I don't know.
Well, Mike, let's give some of our listeners some information on what they can find on Indiana Mat. I know I'm looking at the rankings right now, and you can already see Joe's got all the information input. If you look at the head-to-heads and the key matchups that everybody's had, but now you can see who they've already wrestled in the state tournament, what the score was, and from a broadcaster standpoint, that's golden material.
Oh, man, he does an amazing job. There's sometimes he's able to run scripts, and I think he's been on it, man. And it'll load up. I know some of the big tournaments they were able to, and for rankings-wise, just kind of seeing all those results in there is really good. He's done a really good job with all that stuff. He's a wizard, man.
So, Mike, give us some statistics. What can you brag on? What did you guys get wrong in week one?
The state tournament, obviously we're all wrestling fans, and I think that's, the biggest thing. And I think we've talked about it before in the past. People are like, oh, you didn't see that one coming in. I think that's what I love about the sport is I'm always pulling for the underdogs. At the East Chicago semi-state, I only lost two guys. There were 212s out of the Logansport area. Caleb did amazing. He didn't lose a single wrestler out of the Fort Wayne semi-state rankings, and I know he does a great job. State rankings-wise, obviously, the Floyd Central 106 not making weight. He's really good. Campbell, I actually thought he was in the mix for a title. I know you guys have probably seen Jensen Boyd a couple times, and I see Mason Jones pretty frequently. But Isaac Campbell was right in the mix. I heard that he had missed weight, which it's incredibly difficult, maintaining 106. Max Forrester, we've seen him a couple times at Brownsburg, and I know that's a guy that they were looking to get some points out of. You're going to have someone else step up and make a run now, losing him. I mean, out of that incredibly tough Avon sectional that feeds into that nasty Mooresville regional. that's probably not a guy they thought they were going to lose early on.
So, Mike, I know eventually I think you're going to be able to see on the state rankings who's been knocked out and who's still available, correct?
Yeah, well, I don't know. We used to do it back when I very first started doing the rankings. We'd put a line through the name. And I got a lot of emails about how insensitive that was. As a competitor, I remember, looking at a state ranking, if I was eliminated, I don't think it would have been as much hurt as much as it did when I actually lost the match. But we haven't done that in a couple years, and I think that we could probably start pulling some people off. The state's getting a lot deeper, depth-wise. I think I ranked a lot of the weights. I think we went to almost 40. And I told Joe, when guys are getting pulled out, we could actually bump it down. I won't change it, but if they wanted to show the guys that were right outside, because there was a lot of guys that were it was tough to say, okay, well, this guy deserves to be ranked, and I think Joe kind of agreed. I know one of the weights was 40 deep at least.
That's wild. Mike, who are some of the names that jumped into the brackets at the very last moment that people might not have had their eye on a week or two ago, but now it looks like they're going to be contenders to make it down to Evansville?
Well, we were really we had heard kind of conflicting things with a guy like Kyle Harden, if he was going to be out or if he was going to be in with injuries. There wasn't as many surprises. I think Kyle was a tough one because he's really talented. I'm sure you guys have seen him. I know you've seen him at Dow Smith, and he's dealt with some injuries. I think there's some that just there. You get so many good results, and you're as a fan, it's so Seth Aubin took a loss to Cameron Woods of Portage. I know they've wrestled a couple times, and Seth Aubin looked great at the Al Smith. And then you see that result, and you're man, someone's going to have a tough draw that they maybe a tougher draw than they thought they were going to have at a regional in a couple weeks. Or this weekend.
Mike, we had a 150-pounder for the Jay County sectional that was ranked number 1 in the Fort Wayne Semi-State all season long, and Cameron Clark didn't ever get to wrestle a match and did not get into the tournament, and that kind of threw a wrench into things and kind of left it open for some of the 50-pounders, and I think some of those guys' confidence level boosted up a little bit, and then they started fighting for that top spot at sectional, and it was a really good tournament at 150 then.
Yeah, I was disappointed to see Cameron not being able to go, and that's a tough one because he is ultra talented, but he's only a junior, right? He'll be back. Really good win. I know we talked last time I was on about Braden Daniels from Union City. He had a really good win over Cody Rouse. I thought that that's going to put him in a position to make a run next week. And semi-state's such a random. That's one of the random rounds, ticket round. Just there's no rhyme or reason to it. Same as the state quarterfinals. But when you win a sectional, you win a regional, put you in a good spot.
So, Mike, as we leaf through all of these regional brackets, what are some of the first-round matchups that feature two really highly ranked wrestlers?
I know, looking at, and I've only kind of glanced at a handful of them, but, you look at, you look at Crown Point, I know there's 6 ranked 120-pounders at the Crown Point Regional, and 2 of those guys are, semi-state ranked, not state ranked, but 2 of those guys aren't going to go. I know it's always a competition. Obviously, Dane, you're in that group text, and you're hearing everyone's stats of how they're doing. I've seen a lot of head-to-head matchups at Fort Wayne where guys are going to start to hit, and I was man, at least Caleb's going to lose some guys there. But, there's always going to be, some upsets, and I think that's the biggest thing is, the rankings are more of a appreciation of what people have done during the season. But come tournament time, especially that first round of regional, anything can happen. You wake up and have a bad match. Max Forrester, I don't think that his ranking was undeserved. But if you're out there and you wrestle that match right off the bat, you don't get that wrestle back,
So, Mike, last question for you here before we leave you in this segment. Where are you going to be at on Saturday?
I'm gonna head over to. I might try to go out to Hobart. I wanted to go to Crown Point this week, and then Hobart next week. I think I haven't seen those guys all year. Go see my old coach Jim Watkins, and always a tough regional. And then kind of get back in East Chicago semi-state, seeing all those guys. We're pretty lucky. We have 2 pretty close regionals in Crown Point and Hobart. I mean, I think everyone else is pretty well spread out. The other two, Penn, I was surprised. At Penn, I know Aiden Diaz is a ticker under. Brody Blevins from Mishawaka, I think majored him in the final of that. That was an interesting one. Crown Point dominated their regional. I think they had 13 champs and one runner-up. I know everyone was posting all the stuff. Like a lot of teams had got 14 through. I saw Yorktown got 14 through too, right? I seen that they had posted that.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. In our regional, the two runner-ups, Adams Central and Yorktown, both got 14 guys through to the regional.
Man, Adams Central is a really, really just solid squad, top to bottom. Joe and I were talking about that. Indiana produces some really good dual teams. I think it's overlooked nationally how solid a lot of the dual teams are. Maybe not as flooded with like high-end individuals. You see some of the teams in the rankings nationally. You're like, oh man, those teams have to be really good. But overall, I think Indiana has some really solid dual teams. And I think a team like Adams Central, and just kind of talking Al Smith, and I had sent you that message. I know there's some teams that are looking maybe to move out. Like I think that'd be a really good ad for Steve, Coach Sandiford, and those guys to get maybe them in because they're always going to have a solid squad.
Well, you wouldn't hear any complaints from us as broadcasters because we've missed Adams Central on that weekend the last couple of years. If they were able to jump in the Al Smith, and I know when you look at the bottom of the team scores in that tournament, and you and I have been going for so many years, and you see a team not have a placer the second day, not field a full lineup, you kind of feel like, okay, maybe that's a time to reach out and try to replace them. And I think a team like Adams Central would be great for the Al Smith as they continue to try to build it.
Yeah, and I think the forfeits this year, not bringing a full team, like it's an incredibly hard tournament. I think it's really cool, but like you want to bring full lineups because those guys want to get those matches. And I think like my alma mater, Calumet, had got out a couple of years ago, and Coach Watkins is very brutally honest, and he was just, hey, we don't belong there anymore. And they found tournaments to kind of fit more where they're at competition-wise. And I think sometimes you got to look at it that way. It's not always about like, hey, we want to get you out because you're bad, but we want to get some teams in here that could compete. I know New Prairie is like a team that's very – I know they want to get in. I know they have some real high-end individuals. I would love to see like a Jeffrey Hivert there at 144. It would be great to see him in the mix this year with Christian Arbery and Reese Courtney. But – it's just going to be to those guys. I don't know contracts. Like, obviously, I'm on the outside looking in. I don't know contracts and how all that works. So,
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who they are able to replace and make that tournament better. Hey, Mike, it's time to go. We got to move on to the next segment, but we thank you, as always, for joining us, and we look forward to all the content that we'll find on Indiana Mat this week and the action that comes on Saturday. And I hope you got your viewing Vision Quest in this weekend. If you did, there's still a chance to do it this week.
Yeah, I'm counting down the days. Yeah, I'm going to watch Vision Quest. I'm counting down the days I get to see you guys down in Evansville, man. I'm excited.
Always a pleasure.
All right, bud.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, guys.
With that, let's send it back to studio. Steve Rouse on the board, back with our next segment right after this on WZBD.
Based out of the Indiana Tech Wrestling Facility, the Warrior Regional Training Center is an elite training center for youth wrestlers, high school wrestlers, and college and senior level athletes. Featuring a college coaching staff with a strong history of developing talent and producing results, Warrior RTC will give any wrestler quality training partners to push them to new levels in the state-of-the-art 25,000 square foot wrestling building. The training is affordable and private training is also available. Put Warrior RTC in your corner this season.
Are you ready for spring? Come see what we have growing in the greenhouses. Hi, it's Jessie at Heller Nursery, and we are open all winter long. Heller Nursery always has a wide selection of houseplants in stock and pottery for inside and outside the house. We are preparing for spring every day now, and with new shipments of decor, pottery, plants, and seeds, there's always something new to see. Check out hellernursery.com to see our wide selection of spring offerings of trees, shrubs, fruits, and perennials. Heller Nursery, open 7 days a week.
Brad Weber proudly supports the WZBD Wrestling Coaches Show. He also supports youth football in Adams County as a board member of the Decatur Football League and president of Belmont Cadet Football, giving our youth the chance to learn the great game of football. Some of the best football players in our area have also been fantastic wrestlers. That's why famous coaches like Joe Gibbs and John Madden always wanted wrestlers on their team. Find out more about youth football opportunities by giving Brad a call at 452-7045 or email bw@bradweberlaw.com.
Welcome back once again to the Hager Hershey Zelt High School Wrestling Weekly, and in this segment we are joined once again by our good friend Josh Howard. And Josh, we talked before the match started on Saturday, and it's like, well, we've seen Josh almost every week, at least once. You know, if we got 2 matches a week, we've seen Josh at least once, if not twice a week. There for a run, and we had Jamie Gigline. I had Jamie Gigline 3 nights in a row, and I told him, I said, dude, 3 nights in a row, and he said, yeah, lucky for you, huh?
Well, I think I saw Adams Central every week from the second to last week of December all the way through. So, Adams Central, South Adams, Belmont this year, I had a lot of them.
In 1990, the Muncie South Rebels were state champions, and they were in every tournament that I worked. I saw them 5 weeks in a row, and people accused me of riding the team bus with the Rebels down if we get there. But you just get used to seeing those guys a lot, and I'm still good friends with them on Facebook, and I talk to Pease and Whitcliffe and Tony Abbott and Mark Foreman, those guys. I see them all the time, and they're just a great group of guys, and they're part of those guys that have helped bring their kids from Muncie South's gone into that Delta program that's built the Delta program and what it is today.
Well, Josh, you're a household name in our household as well, as my daughter is a manager for the middle school team. Okay. She's always asking me now, who was the official tonight? So she knows some people, and then there's other people I think that she talks about. She's like, oh, they don't know who I am. They don't know that I'm Dane's daughter. And I think it's funny that she doesn't want to say it. So
I'll see her tomorrow because I got the.
Oh, you're in tomorrow.
I got the Adams Central
Belmont
Middle School.
We might as well just broadcast it tomorrow.
Hey,
make sure that you give the girl with the scorebook tomorrow a hard time.
Jenny, when you order her next shirt, put on the back of it, I'm not Dane's daughter. Just label. Yeah.
Well, Josh, we thought we'd since we got you here tonight, we thought we'd talk a little bit about the refereeing side of things. Not so much what happens on the mat, but what happens on Sunday afternoons as you officials figure out your assignments. A lot of people ask, well, I know this guy lives close to me. I see him officiate all year. Where's he been? He wasn't at our sectional. He wasn't at our regional. And for most people, you really can only pay attention to one sectional at a time. There might be somebody at our sectional who's watching video from another one, but you don't know what's happening at the other 31. How does the process work?
So we get our assignments generally the Sunday afternoon before. So I got my sectional assignment last Sunday. They just got their regional assignments today. And then what the IHSAA generally tries to do is they try and balance it as much as possible based off of our officiating ratings and who's been at state before. So they don't want to have, 4 state champion officials at one sectional and then have another sectional that has, 4 first-year guys. So they try to do it as much as they can to balance it out. But they also try and keep you as regional as possible.
And they want to cut down on their mileage expenses as well. That certainly makes a lot of sense. Now that responsibility falls specifically on the assistant commissioners. Is that correct?
As far as I know, Mr. Falkins makes those decisions.
And it's that way for every sport, depending on who the assistant commissioner is.
As far as I'm aware, I don't know the inner workings of that specific process, but from what I've heard, yes, Mr. Falkins makes those decisions. I know they try and do a general map out early. Figure out who's going to what semi-states, because that is really important to keep that balance, because you got 12 state final officials, so you want to have 3 at each semi-state, and then the highest rated guys, spreading those guys out too. So there's some work that goes into it, but they generally do a very good job of, especially at semi-state and state, balancing that out.
So Josh, how many seasons is this for you now?
How many seasons have I been officiating?
Yeah.
This is my 16th.
Okay.
16th or 17th.
Now, when you started building your schedule, did you determine you just want to work local, or did you decide that you wanted to kind of move out? I know that when I started officiating, I was a Belmont guy, and I didn't want to be associated with Belmont. Belmont was pretty strong at the time. I went away, and for 15 years I was gone. And people, I just didn't see anybody. I worked all over the place. I worked Muncie, I worked the Dunlin Conference, I worked all over the place, and then kind of come back home when I got older, got tired of traveling so much. But how did you build your scheduling start up?
So when I first started, I was brand new to Indiana. My wife told me if I wanted to marry her, I had to move here, so I did. And that's when I started officiating.
Smart man.
So I didn't know any of the schools in the area. I stayed local because I could find those email addresses of those ADs pretty easily. So I would shoot emails out, say, hey, I'm looking for some meets. I'm a new official. Once I started getting some more experience, I did start branching out more, especially on like weekends. And now I just kind of, whoever sends me a contract, I'll take it.
Dane, let's go back. When I started, there was no such thing as email.
Rex had a collection of pigeons in his backyard. He tied messages to them, and they
the Hawks didn't catch him on the way out.
Found their way.
Yeah, I don't do that anymore either. I don't really go out and email for stuff. My schedule fills up as it is, just because people know me.
You're 3 years out, probably, aren't you?
3 years out.
Booked out 3 years.
No,
advance?
they don't book us out that far.
Okay.
I have a bunch of stuff next year, but I don't have anything past that.
Well, you get a tournament that you're pretty much committed to.
Yes.
That you tell a guy, I'm coming back, and they just keep you in the wings.
Yeah, I have. Most of my weekends are pretty much scheduled out, even though I don't have the actual contracts.
The judge has landed, and he has made it all the way back for the show tonight.
Instead of Elvis has left the building, Elvis is in the building.
Josh, tell us a little bit about, you were talking about Logan Ballman earlier in the show, Rex. Tell us a little bit about what that sort of tutelage looks like and just sort of bringing a kid under your wings and saying, look, I'll teach you what you need to know if you'll listen. Mm-hmm. How's that process worked?
So a lot of that is you kind of have to tailor it, at least at the beginning, to how that person acts out on the mat. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll put them out, I'll let them go out there, and I'll just watch the way they move, the way they position themselves, the way they hold their signals, and then you give them little tweaks. And my biggest thing to them is just making sure that they know, A, make sure you're loud on the mat, make sure you're confident on the mat, even if your call might be wrong, sell it. Sometimes the coaches won't argue with you if you sell the call. And a lot of times in those 50-50 calls, if you sell it, that's the determining factor. Beyond that, I will also tell them to steal as much as possible. If you see something an official likes to do and you like it, try it, implement it, put it in your arsenal. If it works for you, keep it. If it doesn't work for you, discard it and try something else.
Now, one thing I did notice that you worked in both those matches. You had Logan work as your assistant referee during the match, and that helps those kids get used to being on a mat. If you're sitting on a bench watching Josh Howard referee, it doesn't do you much good. If you get out there and you feel the position, it's like, okay, as an assistant referee, what's my job? Be on the opposite side to see something he can't see. Be in line so I can see the clock that he can't see. That's your job. Those are the things you work on a dual meet series that you get into the finals of the sectional regional that you need to do, and they're expected to do that. So practice those things and get used to it. And positioning is everything. And my biggest thing is usually those guys stand right in our way and we can't watch the match. But that's their job.
That's a different type of positioning.
Yeah.
Josh has gotten really good. When I have a camera in my hand, it's almost like he's got a fifth sense that he's able to realize that the lens is pointing there, and then when he turns that hand up, it's pointing right at him. I really do appreciate that.
Josh, move to the left 3 inches. I need to see the fall here.
Oh, that's good stuff. It's not easy. It's not easy to teach a young kid anything. Coming from a teacher, it's certainly not easy to teach them to be at their best in front of a big crowd where all of the attention's on you and you are being criticized for every decision that you make. But I think a lot of people see the value in it, and if you're good at it and you continue to learn, you continue to get better, I think the value is there. And sometimes that's the hardest part, is trying to get them to understand, listen, this will be rewarding to you if you get good at it, and you look at how much fun I have, look how much I enjoy this. But also, you're not going to enjoy it if you don't work hard at it and you don't get better at it, and that's kind of the challenge for you.
Well, I always make sure to tell them, look, read your rule book. I always read the rule book at the beginning of the year, in the middle of the year, and then I live in my case book. I go through my case book over and over and over again, because you can know the rules, but if you don't know how to apply them in certain situations, it can be a long day, a long night. It can be a long meet. So that's what the case book comes in handy for. So that's always one of the things I tell them is, read the rule book, great, that's fine. Know the rules, but then also dig into this thing, because this is going to tell you how to apply this in certain situations.
See, that's the difference now back when I was in, because old guys like me, it's like we went to that Blazing Saddles line. We don't need no stinking rules. But today I was telling my wife, I said they had some officials that really were struggling. She goes, you got to cut some pounds to get back there and start refereeing. And I thought to myself, when I retired 21 years ago, I was still considered a decent guy. You don't want to be that guy. And I have friends of mine that have refereed way too long and the time has passed them by, and you don't want to come in and be that guy. And at 45, I was better than I am at 62, and I know physically that I can sit on radio and talk all day long, and I wake up tomorrow morning and I'm not sore, and I didn't get kicked in the head by some kid. I didn't get knocked out. I mean, there's a lot of things to it that people don't think of referees, but you get kicked. You get kicked, you get hit, you get punched. Sometimes then somebody's like, get in there and see that fall. I'm not getting there and getting kneed in the head.
Well, it's not like a back judge in a football game who starts in the exact same position every single time and then has 7 seconds where they have to backpedal or move forward and look for one specific thing. I think more often than not, so many times the complaints from the fans at officials was you were in the wrong position. You weren't there to see it. And that's not easy. It's not easy, A, to predict where you're supposed to be, but to have the athletic ability and to be fit enough to move in those positions. And I think sometimes fans are really hard on guys because they're not able to get in those positions as quickly as fans think they should. But I think we as fans sometimes also have to look at how difficult that is to jump over a guy's leg and to slide in there and to look, and also to protect yourself, and also to be realizing that you've got other things that you got to look at. If you got your nose so deep down in there that you're only looking for the fall, you may miss the defensive fall that's happening with the offensive wrestling.
And that's what you need to do, Josh, with the Logan Ballmans and the Kyle Lawsons and stuff. It's anticipation. If you wrestle a lot and you know a guy's hitting a double leg and he's coming down and he's going to hit the half on that far side, you know you got to get to that side because you're anticipating that's where the falls come down. Now, if you stand and wait until the guy hits the mat and you think, okay, where should I go? It's too late and you've missed a 2 count on a near fall.
Well, that's why if I'm assisting a young official, and hope I'm not speaking out of turn when I say this, but it happened on Saturday in one of the finals matches. Takedown was happening. I looked at my official. I said, make sure you're in position to see this near fall when it comes.
Yeah.
And so he moved himself. So and a lot of that is just mat experience.
Yeah.
It's different when you're wrestling, and these guys, Kyle Lawson's, the Logan Bauman's, they've wrestled, so they know that side of it. But it is different to know the positioning side of it as an official, because you're looking at a completely different angle, and it's a completely different motion. So you have to see where it's heading to, and kind of, again, mat experience. You've seen this before. I know where it's going or where it's supposed to go, so let me start moving that way so when it gets there, I'm already in position to start counting that near fall, or I'm in the position to see that locked hands that I can feel is coming, but I may not be able to get there if I don't move to it.
Yeah, you're counting the near fall on the way down already.
Yep.
So with that, let's send it back to studio for a round of commercials as this segment has extended itself a little bit. We'll be back with more wrestling talk here on WZBD.
DDD Maintenance and Repair, owned and operated by Shane Reynolds, has your local professionals for heavy-duty truck and diesel engine repair. DDD Maintenance and Repair also offers full-service sand and glass blasting for your surface restoration projects. Whether it's getting your heavy-duty truck and diesel engine running like new or sandblasting your project to look like new, we have a blast renewing the past. Give Shane and the guys a call at 260-223-5442. That's DDD Maintenance and Repair.
Does your smile need work? Maybe it's time for a cleaning and exam. Visit Laura Kugelhahn, DDS, and her knowledgeable caring staff at Complete Smiles on North Main Street in Bluffton. Dr. Kugelhahn would love to help you maintain your dental health or transform your smile. Whatever your needs might be, Complete Smiles is there to help you. Dr. Kugelhahn is currently accepting new patients. Call 824-3100 to schedule an appointment.
Welcome back once again to the Hager Hershey Zeld High School Wrestling Weekly, hosted by Double Eagle Clubhouse Grill, sponsored by numerous other people. And we don't get to listen to those commercials during the break, but we have some fine commercials. And when I go back and listen to podcasts, we have a crack team of people at the studio that make those commercials. Dane makes some of them. Ed Thurman makes some. I mean, Dave Nathan does a great job. And this is such a professionally put together program that I understand why people from all over the state look at it and respect it, because our commercials are just as good as the script that Dan has wrote for us.
Steve does a great job with those commercials, and I know anytime I talk to a client who's trying to buy ads, I always tell them, I can record it, you can record it, or we can have somebody at the studio record it. Well, what do you think we should do? You should have somebody at the studio record it. They do a great job.
I think we should get Steve's Uncle Frank on the phone.
It's not his Uncle Frank.
It's Uncle App. Uncle App, because Frank is a friend of App's.
Okay. Well, radio auction tomorrow night.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Don't you forget. Now, Josh was talking earlier, and we're joined by Josh Howard again, IHSAA official. Josh was talking about working with a young official, seeing something that you like, sticking with it, adding it to your repertoire. You gave me the disc, I believe, at the beginning of the year, and I brought that to school with me, and I have 2 wrestlers in 6th period who play with it at the beginning of class every day. And they have, I don't know if you're a baseball guy, but there's a Twitter account called Batting Stance Guy. And this guy mimics old batting stances from old players all the time. And these kids, they will pay attention to whoever the official was the night before or the last match they have. And they'll come in and they'll mimic the flip that the official does. And then they'll try to get each other to guess who it is that they're trying to mimic.
Have they done me?
They have not yet. So you must not have a signature flip.
Mine's very basic. I just do this. It's just a hit.
There's I don't remember who it is even. Somebody who always attempts to almost bounce it off their forearm. They flick it with their wrist and it bounces up off the forearm and always lands flat. And they try to mimic it and they're like, he does it just like this. And they can't ever get it.
Toward the end of a long tournament day, I'm tired. I would like get out of my pocket, just drop it. It's like, yeah, there it is. Then before they made them so they were rectangle like this, they were round, and they would roll on a mat.
Try to chase him. Oh gosh, there he went. He almost went down.
I made it.
Talking about athletic ability.
Woo! Quick as a cat. Like Grady. I look like Grady Baker's mom in church today.
Well, don't pick on her.
She made a nice save.
That's true. Well, Grady had a great tournament, and he's one of those kids who likes to flip that disc and be a part of it. Now, you may get charged for that damage to that headgear.
These are mine. I bought these. So,
well, Josh, we certainly had a fun time with you today, and we appreciate all that you do. Now, tell us a little bit about what that role looks like for you. So you take off the stripes, you put on the tie. Not only do you get a ticket to the hospitality room, but what responsibilities do you have then as a supervisor at a regional next week?
So I don't know about next week. I know
for semi-state.
Semi-state, and it's basically support of the other officials. It's just a support system. We're there to help keep things moving along because at semi-state, especially in ticket rounds, placing rounds, emotions can get high. There's a lot of pressure there, so coaches are a lot more forceful at the table, which is understandable. And our job is just to make sure that action is continuing. That they're not asking 6 questions at the table. That's 1 question, and then we're moving on. It's just our job to be there just to support the official who's calling the match.
And I know that I've watched for years, and then when they put Jimmy Russell in a suit and a tie, Jimmy Russell is kind of hovering around, and he'll see some action happen on a mat, and he'll go down there, and if you're having a tough day and a guy's chewing at you pretty good, it's good to have a Jimmy Russell or Jimmy Troy or somebody come in, get you back to your match. They take that coach, they diffuse the situation. You're going to lose focus on your match. Yep. You don't want to lose focus on your match because this guy's talking about something. They step in, they take care of it, said, hey, he did this, blah, 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 blah. Over, go, done, cut it.
Our job is to support the working officials. That's the nuts and bolts of it.
Now, as a photographer the last 5 or 6 years, being on the ice at the Coliseum, a lot of times I am sat directly next to a seated official or one of the officials who's in a tie and a coat, and I've been right there next to them, and there are a lot of those situations where they've got their eyes out, they're looking at one of the mats to see where the next controversy is coming, and they're immediately just putting their foot right there in between the coach and the official, and sometimes the other coach and the poor table help who really don't have a dog in the fight and are just trying to follow orders, and it is nice to have because you can never have too many people who know the rules, understand the stakes that are there, and the emotions that are bound to come when a situation comes. And sometimes, when you have one of those tough situations, you need to anticipate that this is going to draw a reaction from a coach.
Yep.
There are matches that matter, and there are matches that don't. And there are times when you probably say to a coach, listen, coach, this doesn't matter. You don't need to argue this takedown. You're already up by 8 points. Drop it.
Yep.
And then there are matches like Trevor Curry's match last year where there was a takedown at the buzzer, and you've got an official who said, this is what I saw. The coach comes over and says, I want you to ask your side official, and the side official gets asked, and then from there, that's where sometimes...
And that's where
that's the best time for a supervisor to come.
Exactly. If you have the head official who says, this is what I saw, they go to the assistant, let's say he agrees with it. They go back, and the coach is still not satisfied with that. That's when you have that supervisor there to help move that along and say, hey, this is done, guys. We've had 2 sets of eyes look at it. We got to move on now.
So, Dane, before we go out of this section, because this section is done, New Haven does not have a semi-state. Who picked up the semi-state? Who's going to run the semi-state?
Southside is your host now for the semi-state, so we're hoping for a better hospitality room for us press. Otherwise, I might be up in the Indiana Mat suite. I don't know, the spread might be better up there. I don't know.
Hard telling.
We'll have to see.
With that, we appreciate Josh coming in tonight. And, Josh, how are those pulled pork tacos you had tonight?
Very good.
There you go. See, recommendation from a guy in stripes.
And the tater tots.
Technically, you guys don't wear stripes anymore. You wear those gray.
I mean, there's still stripes
a little
on
bit of a stripe
but
there.
It's mostly solid gray.
Let's send it back to studio to Steve Rouse to run the board. We'll be back for our final segment right here on High School Wrestling Weekly on WZBD.
When faced with the difficult task of making arrangements for your loved one, many emotions and questions arise. What would they want me to do if they were here? Where is the money coming from? How much should I spend? Do they want burial or cremation? The staff at Haggard, Hershey, and Zelt Funeral Home can help you navigate these tough questions. Make your wishes known and allow us to make sure that your wishes are carried out. Call Ryan Hershey or Eric Zelt at 260-724-7167 to schedule an appointment today.
Hi, this is Joel at Decatur Package Liquors, locally owned since 1965. I promise competitive prices and the best service in town. We offer bulk buy discounts for weddings, graduation parties, and other big celebrations. Special orders are also available and highly recommended. Don't forget about Wine Wednesday, where you get the best savings. Come on, guys, it's where your friends shop.
Decatur Package Liquors, with the best service and variety in town, now with locations in Monroe, Byrne, and Markle. Does your smile need work? Maybe it's time for a cleaning and exam. Visit Laura Kugelhahn, DDS, and her knowledgeable, caring staff at Complete Smiles on North Main Street in Bluffton. Dr. Kugelhahn would love to help you maintain your dental health or transform your smile. Whatever your needs might be, Complete Smiles is there to help you. Dr. Kugelhahn is currently accepting new patients. Call 824-3100 to schedule an appointment.
Welcome back once again to the Haggard Hershey Zelt High School Wrestling Weekly, hosted by the Legal Clubhouse Grill. Tonight there's a decent crowd in here. Everybody wants to come out here and join us on Sunday nights. And, Dane, we're running out of Sunday nights, aren't we?
We are. We'll have one after the regional, one after the semi-state. That's the Super Bowl show, so don't forget that's a Monday night show, not a Super Bowl night show. And then we'll be back here on Sunday night. Are we still going to try to do it on Sunday night?
Our tires are going to be warm from racing back from Evansville.
We may have to come right here. We'll have to see whether that one stays on Sunday.
It depends on how much of that Saturday night after festival we attend.
Well, if we're celebrating a state title, it may have to be a Monday show.
Okay.
We'll have to see. Hey, we have an absolutely jam-packed week on WZBD. It all starts tomorrow, 6:05 with the Matt Painter Show, but it really starts at 7 o'clock tomorrow with Radio Auction. We got the first radio auction of the season tomorrow. If you're listening now and you're from Decatur, listen in for all of the specials. You can find them on WZBD.com on the radio auction tab. We've got movie tickets. We've got restaurant gift certificates, all kinds of items at discounted prices. We've got tickets for AB Cinema, Van Wert Cinema, Vandel Drive-In for this summer. Lots and lots of fun. Listen in for the entertainment. Then on Tuesday, we got a doubleheader from South Adams. We'll have the Manchester versus Bluffton girls sectional game from the Stardome, Matt Conversay and Luke Koning, and they'll stick around for the second game, which is Adams Central versus South Adams. Those two teams have split 1-1. The winner of that one is going to have bragging rights, and we'll move on to the semifinals on Friday. Then on Wednesday, we'll have another girls sectional game when Heritage plays at Garrett. Mike Maki and Luke Koning are on for that. And I want to give a special shout out to Glazer and Ebbs Law Office here in Decatur as they stepped up in their support. I reached out to them and said, hey, we're going to have a hard time covering this game. They said, what is it going to take? I told them the amount. They said, we're in. So a thank you to Glazer and Ebbs for picking up and making sure we can have full coverage of the girls basketball sectionals this week.
Dane, I may have missed it, but isn't there a night on there where it's Brewer and Fuelling covering girls basketball?
Yeah, there is. On Wednesday, we've got Belmont and Oak Hill from Mechaniqua, as Dave Nathan and Matt Conversay will have that one. We've got the Catholic Schools Week program. That's on Thursday evening at 6 o'clock along with Pacers basketball. And then on Friday, we've got a whole plethora of girls basketball games. If teams win, if teams advance, it all goes through. I can tell you this, Rex. If any team, Belmont, AC, South Adams, Heritage, if they're playing a girls basketball sectional game this week, it will be on 92.7 FM or it'll be on the YouTube channel, no exceptions. And that'll be all the way through the tournament, all the way through the finals on Saturday. And then, of course, tune in to us on Saturday as we will have regional wrestling action from Jay County. That starts Jay County Standard Time, 8:30 a.m. Get your breakfast bowl at Ginny's and then head on over to Portland.
No, I can guarantee you on that game that you and I cover, we're not going to be Luke Koning statistic worthy. We're not going to talk about 73% field goal shooting from the free throw line or anything like that. If we get through the game and we get everybody's names, that's good as we get, huh?
Well, let's hope that we have two games to cover on Saturday, one at one site and one at another. We'll have one on 92.7 and one on YouTube if the girls continue to advance. Get on out there and support those girls as they fight for a sectional title. Macy Priest has the chance to move into the top 7 or 8 all-time on the Adams County scoring list. She's had a great season. Belmont's had a great season. Norwell and Bluffton have especially talented teams on the Wells County side of things. So check that out. There's a picture there of Macy on the sports page. And Rex, I've been all over. It was a college match. You were at high school matches. I got middle school matches tomorrow. A lot of wrestling going on. Go on WZBD.com at some point tomorrow, and we'll have more stories up about the weekend. But it's been incredible. Macy there in the picture with Trent Lehman, the former principal at South Adams. Really cool. She had 26 points, and if you scroll down there, it's got the all-time list. She moves on. She needs 27 to pass Adam Arnold of Belmont. And you can listen to that game live on Tuesday from the start in.
And after I complained a lot, Dane was able to put this on there. If you go to the top bar, just right below there, there's a thing that says broadcast. You click on there, and it comes up, and it helps me figure out where I'm supposed to go, and it lists all the broadcasts that are going to be on WZBD or the YouTube channel. And there's all kind of links in there. Go back and listen to matches. This website has just been more than we could have dreamed of, Dane.
It's been a lot of fun, and there's going to be a lot of content on there this week as we comb through everything that's happened in the last 24 hours.
With that, we'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. I'd like to thank all of our sponsors. Thanks, Steve, for running the board for us. Thank our studio audience, that great crowd. And like to thank Josh for stopping in and giving us his official point of view. And with that, we're going to sign off and tune in to WZB for more sports on the radio this weekend here on 92.7 FM.